Howdy, it's Jim Morado, and this is very early April 2025. We are in Arizona, and we are making our way to the Grand Canyon. And this is a very special trip for me. We came to Arizona the first time in 2004. My wife's work at the time sent her for a training, and at that time we were living in Cleveland. And anytime we had vacation time, we would mostly come back to where I grew up in Kentucky. But since her work pretty much paid for the trip and I could piggyback onto it for not a whole lot of money, I went with her and my mind was blown. Arizona is special and I still love it. Wouldn't take a whole lot of arm twisting to get me to move out there. And yeah, I have a huge spot in my heart for Arizona and for the Grand Canyon. So we went out there in 2004, had a great time. Almost, I don't want to say it was a spiritual experience, but it kind of was. And then 3 years after that, we wanted to go back again as soon as we could. We went with a couple from college. We had another great experience at the Grand Canyon. At that time, we did several minor league, or we did spring training baseball. We did some of that. That was a lot of fun. And then we wanted to get back to Arizona as quickly as we could, but it is quite a distance from our home in Kentucky, and it has been kind of the trip that has continuously been bumped. We were going to go right before COVID, then COVID happened. We were going to go at another time, and then we had some friends move to Hawaii, and we thought, let's go to Hawaii. That'll be our major trip. Couple of other situations came up too, and it just kept being that one trip we were looking forward to taking again, but we just couldn't. So anyway, we got together with that same couple that we visited Arizona with back in 2007. They now have a couple of kids, and they were talking about how they wanted to bring the kids out to Arizona. So we agreed to basically sort of redo that trip, but with their kids now. And we're glad we did. It was a lot of fun. Their kids are fun. Um, Great kids, just entertaining, and they're very excited about national parks and things like that. And we just had a great time. And coming back to the Grand Canyon was another treat. We stayed in Flagstaff. I'm going to put up other videos about Flagstaff, Sedona, some of the other stuff we did, Meteor Crater. But uh, but yeah, I wanted to put this up about the Grand Canyon specifically as we enter the park and use our park pass for admission.
Are you?
Please. Yeah, and we did purchase the America the Beautiful pass. It's $80 and it covers entrance fees to some of the parks or all the parks that charge entrance fees. I've said it before, if you live Kentucky, Tennessee, if you're in my neck of the woods, it doesn't help you a whole lot. Most of the parks do not charge an entry fee, but when you're going out west, it saved us a ton of money on this trip. Plus, there were the two couples. It ended up being a very good purchase, and I just thought I would mention that. I know when we've gone to South Dakota, we usually buy it too, but yeah, so that was nice. And we stopped by the visitor center a moment ago. They gave us some ideas about some trails to take and just places to go. We spent most of our day driving around the park. We would get out at some of the lookouts and walk around some. We did not hike into the Grand Canyon at all. Well, not really anyway, but we did feel like we got our steps in and we enjoyed it just looking around at the Grand Canyon. Most of this video is going to be scenes from the Grand Canyon. This one is probably the most popular lookout. It's one of the first ones you get to when you come in, where we came in at. Just a lot to take in. Very photographed area. I like the way it's set up with the rocks there and everything,
Listen,
and
watch that. Look at that path they have all the way
yeah,
out.
the
And
Grand Canyon
I almost wonder.
Canyon is just epic. Wanted to say we were in the gift shop, and I have a backpack that has UK on it for the University of Kentucky, and a very nice young fellow came up to me and asked me where I was from in Kentucky, and we started talking. He had spent some time in Camelsville, and I mentioned Harding Coffee, one of my favorite coffee shops in that area, and he
I don't want to make this jump.
said, "Oh yeah, with the rabbit," and it was kind of nice chatting with a fellow local, and then he introduced me to another person working there who had also spent some time in Campbellsville. So that was really cool. I should have chatted with the guy quite a bit, and I thought I'd come back in and probably talk to him later, and then and we did not come back to that gift shop, but always good bumping into somebody from your neck of the woods. Wanted to mention a few books that I like about the Grand Canyon, and there's several really good kind of brief ones that'll give you just a little bit of information on the canyon. There is the Incredible Grand Canyon: Cliffhangers and Curiosities from America's Greatest Canyon by Scott Thibony, and his name pops up in other books too. He's kind of been a Grand Canyon guy, I think, for decades. Small book, very easy to read. This would be a great book to get, really, for anybody. You know, a middle schooler or your granddad would enjoy this book. It's easy to read, lots of great small stories, facts, and weird stories about the Grand Canyon. Also, wanted to mention Ghosts of the Grand Canyon: Personal Encounters That Will Have You on the Edge by Judy and Brian James Martinez. Ghost books can be very hit or miss. This one gets into some of the history, and it's got good ghost stories, but it's just a fun read. They do their research. They lived in the area for a while. Easily one of my favorite ghost type books of any region. Speaking of ghosts and things that are dark, Over the Edge: Death in the Grand Canyon. Gripping accounts of all known fatal mishaps and the most famous of the world's 7 natural wonders. Michael Giglieri and Thomas Myers. And this is the 3rd edition. They've updated it. I read the 2nd edition. It was a huge, probably 350 pages. The updated edition is probably 200 more pages. I just finished that one. I found a copy signed by one of the authors at a mall in Flagstaff, and I sent a message to the other author, Tom Myers. He's a doctor, and asked him if he would sign a book plate for me so I could complete that out. He was kind enough to do that, and we traded a couple of emails. Very good fellow, nice gentleman, and he spent a lot of time in the Grand Canyon too. This book, its influence and its weirdness cannot be stressed enough. There are several other books now about deaths in other national parks. It is an interesting book to read straight through, and it also has statistics, kind of charts with statistics, and it does document all of the known deaths. I had a friend several years ago who hiked into the Grand Canyon on a very hot day. He had done it probably a decade earlier when he was younger on a cool day. And long story short, he was worried and thought he might have been experiencing a cardiac event, and they had to helicopter him out. He is fine. He's great. Just wasn't prepared that day. And I bought a copy of that book for him and gave it to him and told him to please avoid being an update in the next edition of it. So he's got a dark sense of humor. He thought that was funny. It's a great book, though. Check it out. Very, very interesting. Another book that I've picked up recently: Through the Grand Canyon, From Wyoming to Mexico. by one of the Cobb brothers who set up their little photo studio at the top of Grand Canyon. And by the way, if you get on eBay, copies. Let's see, my copy is signed by Emery Cobb in 1969. I believe his brother actually wrote it, but Emery ended up staying on the canyon longer. He was there for years after his brother moved away. They made a movie. They showed it in the studio, and I believe Emery died in 1976 at a ripe old age, and he was there for a while. Autographed copies of that book are readily available and relatively inexpensive for what they are, in my opinion, on eBay. And I bought a copy. It's a very fun book to read about their, I think it was 1912. They took their little boat ride on the Colorado, kind of early people to do it, and just a fun story. So I wanted to mention that one too. Which makes me also want to mention I've not been to their studio. It is still there. I was close to it on this trip. It just was not on my radar. So that's the thing about the Grand Canyon. This was our third visit. All of our visits have been day trips. We spent the whole day, but there is so much more to explore, so much more that I have not done. And this was our third trip to Arizona. I hope before I'm pushing up flowers that I have many more trips to Arizona, and I hope I'm able to spend a lot more time at the Grand Canyon than I have. It is so fascinating. It's mysterious. It's strange, and it's beautiful, and I can't get enough of it. And again, I feel the same way about all of Arizona, but Grand Canyon is something very special and spectacular. Here in Kentucky, I do spend a lot of time at some of our other parks. We've got the Red River Gorge, we've got Mammoth Cave National Park, and I feel like over the years, over the decades, I've spent a lot of time in both of those places. Always want to spend more time. I can't get enough time at either of those. But I do feel like I know those parks. I feel like they're in my blood. They are on the soles of my traveling shoes. And I know them well. But the Grand Canyon, it's like a friend that I've met, and I like it. And I want to get to know it better. And, it's just so special. We stopped at there's the visitor center. It's kind of an unofficial visitor center. I don't know, maybe 10 miles out of the park, where they show the big screen movie, and I think that place is kind of fascinating. Kind of an interesting gift shop, and just a nice stopping point. We did not watch the movie. Yeah, I'd like to one day. Driving around one of the parking areas near one of the nicer views, it was very windy on this trip. Everywhere we went in Arizona was windy. Petrified Forest, Painted Desert, and here at the Grand Canyon, it was extremely windy. My hat was blown off.
Yeah.
In the Painted Desert, my friend Spencer grabbed it for me though, and then I went and I bought a sock cap, which stays on your head better than just a regular old baseball cap. I will say, as we were walking around the Grand Canyon and exploring, we were over at the Desert View Watchtower, and we'll get to that here. Actually, I think we're on our way there now. There was a couple. The guy just bought a baseball cap, went outside, it blew off, probably fell hundreds of feet. And she was complaining loudly about it. I don't know if she thought she should get a refund, but that it was that kind of wind. It was the kind of wind that just would blow your head off. Check out that drop. Even with that rail there looking down, that is a scary sight. So very beautiful too, though. And the Reds. When you're out in Arizona, you get in the Grand Canyon, and in Sedona, you notice that kind of dark brown red dirt. It's even more red when you get to Sedona. But I get why they call some of this painted, like the painted desert. It looks almost more like a painting than real life. And I know it's been said before, but the Grand Canyon, you can see pictures, you can see video. None of it does it justice. It's you've got to stand there and look at it to get it. And and I'm sure there's people that you hike into the Grand Canyon. They probably say you can't get the Grand Canyon unless you hike into it, and that's probably accurate too. Great, great looking all around the place. When we got back home and I went on a little kick where I was wanting to watch movies filmed in Arizona and at the Grand Canyon, and you get some where there's a um, very brief scene or two, maybe at the Grand Canyon. I did find a movie, Sedona, from 2011, that was filmed almost entirely in Sedona, and that was entertaining. That was actually a really good movie, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Oh, and here's the tower that I mentioned before. That's my friend Spencer running to it. He gets excited. Um, you see that tower? It was built in the 1930s, and it was built to sort of look like a Native American ruin, but it is not. There's a little gift shop up here, by the way, near it. There's a gift shop inside of it, but then there's also like a separate building with a cafeteria and a gift shop. And that was probably one of the nicer places with, if you wanted some affordable T-shirts and stickers, they had good stuff, and it was affordable, and we liked it. We ended up eating at their restaurant, and it was an excellent restaurant for a national park. Really nice chicken sandwiches, and I got a souvenir cup for a drink. It was like $6. Very nice cup. If you get souvenir cups at places, that's not a bad price at all. We're inside of the tower, and it is cool. Great views of the canyon from here, by the way. We were tired. Our legs, we had been walking all over the state of Arizona, and you could get in a line to wait to go up to the upper parts of this tower, and I wanted to do that, but it was going to be probably about a 45-minute wait to do that, and we just did not feel like that was the best use of our time. I sort of regret that now because I liked this area, and I definitely want to come back and do a tour, a little bit more of a formal tour of this tower. This place in its own right was just really cool, and we thought really highly of it, and just a beautiful building right there at the canyon. Some information about the plane crash that happened not too far from this location. And reading in the book Death in Grand Canyon, there have been some plane crashes, and there have been issues with looters and that kind of thing. But I want to say this, to get to the spot that happened here, you'd really have to do some serious hiking. It's not the kind of thing that you can just hike to on a day trip, I don't believe. Great shots of the tower. Again, just look how pretty that is. While we were here, I didn't see this happen. My friends told me about it. There was a huge spider, and a lady kind of screamed about it, and then somebody stepped on it. And I don't think anybody really noticed, but it is a national park. You're not supposed to mess with the creatures there. So probably nothing would have come of that, but and I gotta be honest, I'm scared of spiders too. It's just a crazy great view. You can see the wind is blowing like crazy too, but what a great day to be out at the Grand Canyon. Our friends, they have their son. I think he's around 10. Their daughter's 17 or 18 now. Guys, the older I get, it's, their son, he could be 10, he could be 30, I don't know. Anyway, they're great. They're a great family. And one thing I love about them is they love this kind of thing. And even the 10-year-old son, a lot of 10-year-olds might get bored driving around the Grand Canyon for a day and insist on playing a video game or give me the phone. And they are not that way at all. I mean, they're still in awe of nature and of national parks. And I think that's great. They're great friends to travel with. Of course, you do. I've said this before. You have to think about who you're traveling with every time you take a trip. We have some friends that like to drink and stay out late and get up late. And that's not us. So when we travel with them, we just have to know what we're doing and how we're going to budget our time. Most of the friends we travel with like to get up early, get stuff going. That way, if you need a couple of hours at the end of the day, you've got it. Or if you need a couple of hours to go to bed early, you can do that too if you want. And that's, yeah, you just have to be careful when you're doing trips with friends and make sure you're all on the same page. There's a very quick look at our meal that we had at that visitor center I mentioned. Very, very nice meal. And again, for a national park like this, I thought it was very affordable. There was my souvenir cup. I've got that on my bookshelf now. I got a wrap, and my wife got one of those grilled chicken sandwiches, and we each ate half, and then we swapped. And I would go back there for their grilled chicken sandwich. Very, very good stuff. We drove around the park, drove around some of the hotels here. Of course, they've got the railroad. So cool seeing these trains, and I'm just itching to get back and do a train ride. A buddy of mine did that, and there's just so much more to do here. Um, the Grand Canyon and Arizona are both they're places you can't just do them in a day. You can't do them on one trip. You almost oh man, I would almost just like to rent an apartment here for several months so I could explore this area at some point in my life, maybe down the road. But there's just so much going on, so much to do, and even the hotels are historic, um, and just very exciting. One of the stories from the death in the Grand Canyon, they mention there was a escaped criminal. He took a couple of hostages, and while the authorities were looking for him, I think he spent a night or two unnoticed at the El Tovar hotel here in the Grand Canyon. Very fascinating story. Lots of fascinating stories in that book, by the way. But yeah, we're just driving around. It looks like there's some people waiting. I don't know, maybe for a bus or possibly they were waiting kind of close to the trains, I believe, too. But just lots and lots going on here. Train tracks. And we were just driving around at this point kind of for the fun of it. I know I've told this story on other videos I've put up about Arizona. On our first trip to Arizona, I think it was our last or second to last night in the state. We drove up. We were driving back from Sedona to Phoenix, and it was very dark. And the skies are so clear, and it's just such a haunting state. You almost feel like you're in an episode of the X-Files at times, especially when you're on those Arizona highways and it's so quiet and calm and the sky is clear. We stopped at a rest area, and there was a little native lady who had a blanket of jewelry she had made. And my wife usually likes to buy a little ring or something when we travel, something local. And she had just like the perfect, very affordable, nice rings. We ended up buying something from her. She had a cute dog there with her. I played with her dog while my wife looked at jewelry. It was a very perfect moment. We got back in our car and we were driving back to Phoenix, and we saw a shooting star while Thin Lizzy's Cowboy Song was on the radio. And it was just such a perfect moment. Uh, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but it was just a very perfect moment. Hey, check out those guys. I'm sure they're getting ready for or coming back maybe from a trip down in the canyon. Very cool seeing them. I know when we were here the first time, I bought a nice panoramic photo by a guy named Jim Kegley for $10. And he had some others, and I was trying to find some of those, and I can't find them. If you happen to know where I can buy those Jim Kegley Grand Canyon prints, drop me a line, will you? I'd appreciate it. And by the way, we're starting to see some wildlife on our way out of the canyon, or out of the park, out of the Grand Canyon National Park. Very exciting getting a glimpse of those guys. Man, something that drives me nuts, especially in a big park like this. People pull over, as we did. Everybody's being calm, everybody's being quiet, and then you've always got somebody that they start running out of their car towards the wildlife. Please don't do that. For the benefit of the wildlife and for the benefit of the rest of us trying to get a good look at them. That often chases them away, and it's just not a good thing to do. You don't want to run towards them in the park anyway. But it was cool getting to see them, and they kind of just stood around and posed for us. And this was a major treat. Really, I believe some of the only significant wildlife we really saw at the park on this particular day, and we were glad to see them. We did try to get to the park early on this particular day. There have been news stories about the Grand Canyon National Park specifically having high rates of visitors and people having to wait an hour and a half to get in. That was not the case for us. As we leave, though, you'll see some cars lined up to get in. It still wasn't too bad. I'm a sucker for the kitschy little shops and stuff before you get into parks and everything like that. There are a few scattered as you go towards Grand Canyon. But I always have to pick up a patch, some postcards, and a few other little things. I'm big on stickers these days too. And there's a look at cars backed up a little bit to get in. They're probably trying to get in to see the sunset. We thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and get back to Flagstaff. It snowed quite a bit on our trip, mainly in the Flagstaff area, and we had to kind of reroute, or we had to reshuffle some of our days. We didn't want to be at the Grand Canyon when it was snowing, so we kind of shuffled around our plans a little bit, but that was okay. But yeah, we did see quite a bit of snow on this trip. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and wind this down, though. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you have any thoughts about the Grand Canyon, I'd love to hear from locals. I'd love to hear from people who have spent a lot of time at or around the Grand Canyon. And I would love to hear from some other people like me who just get there whenever they're lucky enough to get there. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Tourist trap. Yeah, they're the best.